Kyle Anderson has become a secret weapon for the Miami Heat that nobody could have expected. Even the Heat front office couldn't have expected this because he wasn't even supposed to be here. If y'all remember a month and a half ago during the trade deadline, when we of course sent Jimmy Butler to the Warriors, Kyle Anderson was initially coming here, but he was going to get flipped to the Toronto Raptors from the Miami Heat. But that leg of the trade quickly fell apart as the Raptors pursued Brandon Ingram and got him. So that meant that Kyle Anderson was going to be stuck with the Miami Heat. So there was a period of time for about 16 hours where Kyle Anderson had no idea where he was going to play basketball the rest of the season. He even said that he just wants to be to a team where he's going to be appreciated. He didn't want to go somewhere where the front office didn't really want him. But eventually, when the Heat, of course, ended up keeping Kyle Anderson, it was reported that the Heat brass let him know that he was valued here. And it was even reported that Pat Riley and Erik Spoelstra personally called him to deliver the message. And Kyle Anderson said that that meant a lot to him. And that whole story is kind of crazy to think about because all Jimmy Butler wanted was to be appreciated, and he couldn't even get a phone call from Pat Riley or Mickey Arison, but they did that for Kyle Anderson. But anyways, that's not the point of this video. Now, initially, I was mad that the Heat were keeping Kyle because I was like, well, if you planned on trading him and now you're keeping him, that means somebody messed up. Somebody didn't do their job properly, and I was already kind of annoyed at that. But I was more so frustrated by the fact that we had to retain his long-term contract because this year he's making about $8.7 million and he's making over $9 million next season and over $9.5 million the season after that when he'd be 33 years old. Now, I understand that's not a large chunk of money. It's not a max contract or nothing, but it still is a sizable enough portion that affects your salary cap space. And even more importantly, it's long-term money. And I kind of was hoping the Heat would prioritize cap flexibility, even though stars don't reach free agency anymore. But it just gives you cap space in order to trade for a star and bring them in without having to worry about somebody wanting your bad long-term contracts. We saw this back in 2016 when the Heat re-signed James Johnson and Tyler Johnson and Kelly Olynyk, and the Heat said, oh, don't worry, these are tradable contracts. Spoiler alert. Well, I guess it's not a spoiler. It's long gone now. They weren't tradable contracts. Nowadays, most teams do not want long-term money, meaning more than a year or two, and that's what Kyle Anderson was. So I was very hesitant about the fact that the Heat were going to keep Kyle Anderson initially. Not to mention that his first game in the Heat jersey was ass. He shot 0 for 5 in 10 minutes in a 20-point blowout loss to, funny enough, the Boston Celtics. So it's funny how things come full circle because in today's video, we're going to be reacting to another Brady Hawk thread about Kyle Anderson's performance versus the Celtics just 2 games ago. Of course, I'm recording this after the Grizzlies game in which Ja Morant just gamed us at the buzzer, but we still saw a lot of great things in that Celtics game, so I want to do a little bit of a film analysis on what we saw. But before we get into that, I understand Kyle Anderson's role has been inconsistent and will probably continue to be so, especially when we get Nikola Jovic back. But I do think he definitely provides something here that we don't have in terms of somebody who can kind of initiate a half-court offense, which sounds weird to say about a really slow guy who's a power forward. But Kyle Anderson did play point guard in college. He definitely has some playmaking chops. And I think the whole slow-mo thing actually works to his ability. When he first got here, I was saying, oh, why are they pumping up the fact that his nickname is Slow-Mo? It's not good to be slow in the sport of basketball. Breaking news. But what I quickly found out while watching Kyle Anderson, and we'll get into when we watch some of the film, is he uses his slowness to his advantage. He almost slows down the entire pace of the game and reads it at his own pace. And because of that, he's able to break down the game in the half court, which is not something that the Heat have, quite honestly. But now let's get into this Brady Hawk thread of Kyle Anderson's 19-point performance versus the Celtics, in which he outscored Jason Tatum, by the way. And I think he did a great job showing his versatility and kind of what he brings to this team. Of course, Brady does a great job with these threads on Twitter. I just think I can provide further analysis in these videos. So let's get into it. Where in this first clip, Brady kind of talks about Kyle Anderson's catch and shoot ability and kind of what he sees on the defense on this play. So we're going to start with Davion Mitchell at the top of the key here. He's going to provide a little bit of penetration and just do a basic kick out to Kyle Anderson. This is the most simple of basketball plays. This is basketball offense 101, drive and kick game. It's something that I've been talking about when we've been mentioning Davion Mitchell's playmaking, is his ability to create that dribble penetration, get those paint touches. For 3 years, the Heat had Kyle Lowry, who, yes, is a decent facilitator, but at the later stages of his career, he didn't necessarily have the foot speed to blow past his defenders, so he wasn't creating a lot of motion in the defense, getting guys out of position, which means that there wasn't a lot of open shots that was created like this one you see from Davion here, because, of course, Davion's been so great at getting to the bucket. You're going to see Khalil Ware come up to set the screen on the left side of Davion Mitchell so he can drive left. Jason Tatum is going to completely unoccupy the corner because he doesn't necessarily trust Kyle Anderson as a shooter. Kyle Anderson is by no means a knockdown shooter, but he is a career 34% shooter, which is a little bit below, league average, but still relatively acceptable. And he has had a couple of seasons where he shot over 37%, had another season where he shot over 41%. So he has shown an ability in the past to be a relatively capable shooter. The one thing that we definitely need to know is how slow his release is. It does not look that pretty. Now, the actual mechanics of it aren't too bad. As you could see here, he gets full extension and great follow through on the wrist action up here. You're also going to see his feet jump forward. So he has a lot of the things that you're looking for in a jump shot. It's just, it's very, very slow. But because of that, it almost makes defenses not even want to guard him, which means that he has the time to set up. So the speed of his release ends up being kind of irrelevant here. But because he hit this three, that did open up a lot of things that we saw later in the game. In this next video, you're going to actually see the Heat completely clear out for Kyle Anderson to give him space to operate with Baylor Scheierman guarding him. You see Davion, Tyler, Haywood, and Khalil Ware. They're all on the left side of the court. They're going to swing it to Kyle Anderson up top here. And he does have a little bit of momentum to get going. That's something that Brady Hawk mentions here to kind of help him elevate his speed a little bit. But the reason that I think he was really able to score here is the hesitation of his pace, the change of pace. You can see right here, right as he breaks his drive, he does this little bit of a hesitation. And what that's going to do is throw Baylor Scheierman a little bit off with his backpedaling. And that gives Anderson the slight leverage that he needs to get a bit of a step. And then he's going to change pace again. Watch this 1-2 slow step that he does right here. Him slowing down now gets Baylor Scheierman back on his back feet. He's flat-footed, which makes it a little bit more difficult to react to this here. Even though Kyle Anderson doesn't beat Scheierman beat him off the dribble on this play, he still throws him off enough to get the leverage that he needs. And then it's all, it makes it even easier, the fact that he's able to body him right here and use his 6'9" frame to shoot right over Scheierman there. So it's a mix of change of pace, the herky-jerkiness of it all, and just pure size, because at 6'9", with 230, he is going to be bigger than a lot of the people guarding him, especially when other teams try to put some of their worst defenders, like a Baylor Scheierman, or we'll see Peyton Pritchard a little bit later on. Teams will try to put their worst defenders on Kyle Anderson so they can hide him, and if Anderson is able to take advantage of those mismatches, then it really throws off everything that the defense is trying to do. And as a slower player myself, y'all know I like to hoop. I play ball almost every day. I'm not very fast at all. I can't jump. You can't slide a piece of paper under me when I jump. That's how unathletic I am. But part of the reason I'm able to get buckets outside of being a phenomenal shooter is I've learned how to use my slowness and change of pace to my advantage. If you can throw off a defense who's constantly backpedaling just by changing pace, you are able to score and create leverage to get into the paint. Getting in the paint is not always about being faster than your opponent. It's about being able to throw them off, and this is just a great example of Kyle Anderson doing that. I interrupt this video to tell y'all about something that you're definitely going to want to hear about, because let's be honest, things aren't so great with the Miami Heat right now, but that's okay because March Madness is here and every game is a chance to cash in. And y'all know I'm locked in, so I got to dabble a little bit in the sports betting. So what better way to do that than with MyBookie's Bet and Get program, where when you bet on a March Madness game, you get a surprise reward. That could be cash back, bonus chips, free bets. You never know what's coming next. And as Heat fans, y'all should be locked in too, because truthfully, we're probably going to have a very high draft pick, but I'm good with that because Cooper, Flag, VJ, Edgecombe, all the top prospects are looking amazing. So make sure y'all get in on the action with MyBookie and sign up using promo code MM50. That's MM50. And that will allow you to boost your bankroll with a deposit bonus to make sure you get the most out of your money. And if you don't want the deposit bonus, that's okay too. Just make sure to let them know that I sent you. So bet on any game, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie. Now, let's get back into the video. Now, in this next clip, Brady talks about how well Kyle Anderson is with his off-ball movement. Of course, he has a super high IQ, and we see him use that a lot of times as the ball handler. We'll see him have some great connections with guys cutting back door, whether it's Pelle Larsson, Duncan Robinson. We've even seen it with Tyler Hero. But Anderson is also able to use that IQ when he does not have the ball. You're going to see Bam set the screen up top here for Davion Mitchell. Davion's going to kick it to an open Haywood Highsmith, who gets a pretty clean look. But Anderson is going to see the shot get raised and immediately go into the paint to put his big body on Jaylen Brown. There's a little bit of a box out, doesn't need to do too much, but because he's 6'9", he's able to tip the rebound to himself, and he does have great touch inside to kind of lay it in, because if you look at the Celtics, their tallest player here is Neemias Queta, and he's obviously being occupied by Bam Adebayo. Outside of him, they got Hauser, and they got Pritchard, and they got White, and they got Brown. Nobody out there is tall enough to box out Kyle Anderson, so this is just an easy putback by him. And having another 6'9" guy out there just really creates or gives the Heat a lot more size that they were lacking, especially once Nikola Jovic went down with a hand injury, because Jovic does provide some of that too, and Jovic can be a playmaker pretty well also. You know, we've seen him sort of run point guard, but especially when he's out, Kyle Anderson's done a great job just making these heady plays. And in this next clip, Brady shows another example of a great drive by Kyle Anderson, and he notes how he once again gets that momentum off the cast to kind of build up some speed. You're going to see Tyler swing the ball to Kyle Anderson right here, and he does a little bit of a hesitation. He gets a little bit of space, but he is going to see that the smaller Peyton Pritchard is guarding him, so he immediately shields the ball between his big frame and Peyton Pritchard. He puts his hip on him. His whole back is on him in this spot as if he was about to post up. There's no way that Peyton Pritchard could defend this whatsoever. And then by the time Jason Tatum helps here on the right side, Kyle Anderson already has that ball up high here, and he continues to show just great touch to get this ball to fall. He has such good touch when driving to the rim. We've been saying this about Khalil Ware a lot. It's tough for a lot of these bigger guys to put the ball up as soft as you see right here. So yeah, that's pure skill by Kyle Anderson. And eventually, if he's able to keep driving like this, teams are going to have to help more and more. And then look who'd be standing wide open in the corner is Pelle Larsson. So it's, again, these paint touches, these drives that could open up the entire offense for everybody. And in this next clip, Brady is saying that Kyle Anderson gave him Caleb Martin flashbacks here, which is really just a great comparison, because this move that you see here, the dribble pull-up, midi fadeaway with the clock winding down, that's not something you're going to see from Kyle Anderson consistently. Maybe just once in a while where he's feeling himself and he decides to get in his bag a little bit. But of course, in this case, the shot clock's winding down. There's about 3 seconds left. You're going to see Davion Mitchell curl off the top of the key here. Kyle Anderson might have some time to give it to him, do like a dribble handoff. Maybe Davion could have a run to the rim, but with 3 seconds left, it might be hard to kind of operate. And Kyle doesn't want to give him a grenade, as they call it. So he sees the slower-footed Luke Kornet on him, and he gets right to that middle, does a little bit of a hezzy pull-up with 2 seconds left. Kornet is so off balance, and Kyle Anderson just gets the great touch to fall. And yeah, I mean, when he made that, I just said, hey, that's your night. That's one of those shots where if you're the other team and you say Kyle Anderson is hitting that, we're just going to lose. And that's exactly what happened. And in this next clip, Brady talks about how important it is for Kyle to get to that middle of the floor as a facilitator. This is even more so true when teams start to go zone. You break a zone by getting into the middle and shooting threes. And a lot of times you get those open looks from three by having someone operate in the middle. But even if it's not a zone, if they are going man like the Celtics are in this case, if you get a guy in the middle at the top of the key right here, you still have all those options to set some screens, maybe have someone go back door. You see Khalil Ware kind of hanging out there in the dunker spot. But in this case, Neemias Queta is so far off Kyle Anderson, and we've been talking about how great Anderson's touch is. He's able just to rise up and get this easy 10, 11-foot floater to go. You see how he gets so open right from the jump, where Kyle Anderson is going to set his screen on Davion Mitchell's man. That's Peyton Pritchard. That means Neemias Queta is going to hedge a little bit here, but Peyton Pritchard is also going to come for the double because, once again, the Celtics are not respecting Kyle Anderson as a scorer. This is an easy read for Davion Mitchell, and if Kyle Anderson is being used like that, if he is in score mode, the Celtics at some point are just going to have to adjust, and that's going to leave tons of space for guys like Hero and Bam to operate in isolation, which is just a good thing. And then this last clip just might be the best play in Kyle Anderson's career. You're going to see him do a pump fake up top, then do the over the head Euro step on Peyton Pritchard, and then get the high arcing layup to go. You're going to see right here, Davion's going to drive a little bit, or he's going to start with a ball fake to Pelle in the corner, throw Sam Hauser a little bit off. You see Sam Hauser stumbling here. That gives Davion enough space to get one step. Peyton Pritchard's going to come up here and help. Neemias Queta, same thing as the last play. They're looking to double Davion Mitchell to prevent him from driving in. They're trying to close up the middle. That's going to leave Kyle Anderson wide open at the top of the key. Davion's going to set a little bit of a screen on Queta to give Anderson even more leverage. But because Queta wasn't glued to Anderson from the beginning of the play, he has to run out here a little bit. He's going to fall for the pump fake. Now he's off balance, completely out of position. He's on Kyle Anderson's back. And when Anderson's 6'9" frame puts his arms up in the air, once again, there's no shot that Peyton Pritchard has any chance of stopping this ball. And just what an absolutely difficult touch. Look at the angle that he shot this from. You can't underestimate how great the touch is from Kyle Anderson. I also want to know how great his pump fake is here. Look at the pump fake here. He is pump faking exactly like he shoots. We did a Tyler Hero film analysis a couple videos ago, and that's one of the things that I gave Hero credit for also, because when a lot of guys pump fake, they put the ball up, but then they put their front leg back because they're looking to drive. Nobody's falling for that. Who shoots like this with their leg behind them? You can't see my leg, but my leg's behind me. You can't pump fake like that. You have to do it exactly how you shoot. And not only did Kyle Anderson keep his form the exact same, he kept the speed the exact same, and then he's able to blow right past him, get right into his driving action, and finish with the over their head. Oh, this is fun stuff, man. I really became a big Kyle Anderson fan over this game, too, and he's definitely someone that I would describe as Heat culture, no doubt. But that's really all I got to say for this thread. Let me know y'all thoughts on Kyle Anderson down below. I definitely think he's someone that the Heat need because we've seen them go in a lot of offensive droughts this year. We've seen them kind of panic in the fourth quarter, but Kyle Anderson is a guy that has so much poise and IQ that he can really help mitigate a lot of those problems. So I'm very curious to see if Spo is able to find a spot for him in the rotation once you get Wiggins back, once you get Nikola Jovic back, because he is a guy that I think could contribute if the Heat make the playoffs. Or if they get a star this offseason, he could be a great, cheaper rotation player to kind of throw in there next year on a team that would theoretically be ready to win a championship, depending who you bring in. But make sure y'all like the video and subscribe. All the support is greatly appreciated. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.